Welcome to the Otherworlds, where we talk to authors of fantasy, supernatural, and paranormal stories. Let's open the portal and meet our guest.
Hi, my name is Sandra Tan, and I am joined today by Dahlia Jade. Dahlia has rejected capitalism and she abandoned her corporate career to focus on writing her debut novel, The Phantom Noctis. The Phantom Noctis is out now, and Dahlia visits the other worlds to chat about the world that she's built and the characters in it. Welcome to the other worlds, Dahlia.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I am so excited to be here. Um, I love that intro. That was amazing.
Well, I was thinking that from what I know about you, because we've interacted online, I was thinking,
Yeah.
let's go with something fun and punchy because, this is really, I think, your personality. So, you know,
Oh
uh,
yeah.
and of course,
Oh
for
yeah.
people are listening to this on release day, but we're recording this 2 weeks before the Phantom Noctis's release. So I was wondering, here's a really hard first question for you. How are you
Okay.
feeling?
You know, I I don't know. I'm kind of in like a lull. It was like really when I like first announced the release date, when I first was sending out ARCs, ARCs, I call them ARCs, and I've recently learned that they're supposed to be called ARCs. Um,
Whatever.
But it was so exciting. And now that it's 2 weeks away, I'm just kind of like, all right, well, on to the next one. I'm like really into writing the second book. I have another book that I have completely outlined and written the first draft for that I'm also like really into that has absolutely nothing to do with the Phantom Noctis. So I'm kind of just like at a point, you know how when like your friends are getting married and they get to the point where they're like, I'm just ready to like have it happen. That's where I'm at with the Phantom Noctis. Like I'm ready for it to be out so I can be like, all right, guys, get ready for book two.
Yeah, it's actually good to focus on book two right now because it helps you not focus on what does or doesn't happen on release day. Because release day can feel surprisingly like a bit of a letdown because like you don't know if people have got it if they're reading until they start sharing on social media. So there's just this like little
Yeah.
right, your baby's out there, but you know, is
Now what?
and is your baby in good hands or what's going on, right? So,
Uh,
but and of course, I had to throw this question in today, just because of something I read on social media this morning. So I'm wondering what parts of the Phantom Noctis made you cringe while writing?
Um, okay, so this is not well writing, but I was talking to somebody about this earlier today. Here's the cover, okay? I am my own cover designer, so this is not me shitting on an artist. I am the artist that I'm shitting on. This little S sticks out further than the M, and I don't know how that happened or why that happened during formatting, but it is far too late for me to change it. And every time I look at it, I'm like,
You know what? 99% of people aren't even going to notice that or be bothered by it.
There's also the other one that I was really thinking about was so this is during a sex scene. I forget what page it's on. And it says he shot hot ropes of release over her belly. And I wrote it and I put it in there and we've edited it and it's fine. But like my mom wants to read this book.
You didn't think about that when you were writing those scenes?
Not really. My boyfriend's mom wants to read this book. And now I'm like, maybe I should cut those pages out for them.
Yeah, take a marker to those pages. Here's your specially formatted version.
And then they hugged for a long time.
Yeah, right. I actually is funny. I did not think that you would have any nerves about the sex scenes.
I don't know. Okay, so let me preface this by saying I never liked smut in books until recently. I just always found book sex to be like very cringe until I started reading Romantasy, and I don't know what it is that like separates it in my brain. Because I only started reading Romantasy recently. I used to read a lot of like mysteries, thrillers, things like that. And I don't know, something about the sex scenes, I would always kind of like really quickly skim through them. Um, but yeah, in Romantasy, I started liking it. And then when I wrote it for the Phantom Noctis, I did, I just wrote it the way that I wanted to read a sex scene. So it is a little bit more clinical, I think. I'm using more just like regular, like the actual term, like penis is in there, labia is in there, but it's just because I don't like the euphemisms for them. Um, but I don't know. I'm just like curious to see what people think. Like, are people gonna hate it? Are people gonna like it? I don't know.
Well, I mean, can a vampire have manhood?
Yeah, right?
Like, what do you
And
call that then? His steak?
his hard wooden steak. Well, Isara does love steaks, so
Well, okay, there's me misbehaving in this episode, and we're rails already.
that's my self-insert moment was the steak.
Oh, you love steak?
I love steak. Me and my editor both. That's like partially how we became friends was over our mutual love of steak. So when I wrote the book and she was helping me with it, I was like, I gotta add the steak in.
Well, it's interesting that you say that because, like, obviously, then that's something that you gave Lysara from yourself. I was wondering because she likes snakes. Do you like snakes?
I love snakes.
So is that why you wanted to include that in there?
Yes, I feel like okay, snakes are a little bit overdone in fantasy, but I don't know, I just think they're really cool animals and it actually comes into play in book 2 um because of her um career and her expertise with poisons.
Okay, I was wondering about that because it wasn't a factor in this book,
Mhm.
um, but I will just say that there are a lot of little hints to things that have significance later. So throughout, so you don't know what is going to come into play in this book or in the next book. So I was curious about that. I'm also curious if you can cry on command.
Me? No, I can't. Um I wish I could. But the little manipulative psychopath inside of me wishes that I could, but I can't.
Yeah, that I was thinking about that, and I was thinking about Lysara, referencing the fact that that's a handy tool for a woman to have in their arsenal, and I was thinking, you know what, that's like, unfortunately quite true, really, um,
Yeah.
but I don't think I can, not unless I like stomp on my foot or something.
Yeah. I don't know. So I personally don't cry a lot, but I made Lysara cry a lot because I don't know. I felt like it was kind of I feel like a lot of times you read these like really strong characters and then they like process emotions and it's just like very like hard exterior. They're like, I don't want to cry, I don't want to cry, I don't want to cry. So I thought it would be kind of interesting and I just wanted to see a character that like wore her emotions on her sleeve. Um, so there is actually like a meaning behind Lysara crying a lot, and it's just that I don't know. I wanted a character that cries.
Well, I think it has value because um, you're you're writing a character. Lysara has a lot of trauma, and I mean, I'm not like I don't want to go heavy into spoilers or anything, but you know, um, obviously we're informed about her past and things that she's been through, and of course, as situations devolve throughout the story, there are certain things that come up, and it's a lot, and I do think that it's a genuine response that actually shows that she is processing what this means and its significance.
Yeah, you're right.
Like too often, sometimes characters are just a little too stone-faced about
Yeah,
things.
yeah. And I don't, my comment before, it's not that I don't like the typical strong exterior, like hard exterior FMC. I do love that. I just kind of was like, how can I make Lysara a little bit more different and maybe just even like a little bit more relatable? And like she doesn't have all the answers. She doesn't make the right decisions all the time. And that's like her whole character arc.
Which fair, because like who does, right?
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
and also like when you have deep trauma, then sometimes that manifests in ways that you just don't foresee. And sometimes it manifests in mistakes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that was you know, I thought that was I thought it was good. I liked the fact that she wasn't afraid to be emotional and to show how she felt. So
Yeah. I love how much you're picking up on like the trauma background of it and just like the little things that are sprinkled in. I was a little bit like I was nervous writing this just because it is my first novel that I'm publishing. And I feel like it can be hard to do that. And I was kind of like, I don't want this to come across like it's some like pretentious, like I'm sprinkling info in that you have to dig deep to find. But I just love reading books like that. And again, I like used to love reading mysteries and thrillers. So my brain kind of just like likes that, I guess. But yeah, like overcoming trauma is such a huge theme in the book, but it's one of those kind of underlying, like, I'm not going to outright tell you that this is a book about overcoming trauma. Well, I am now, but
oops, cat's out of the bag.
oops. This is a book about overcoming trauma. But anyway, yeah, like the more I don't know, I feel like there's just things in there that you pick up on, and you've like just this conversation alone is like making me so happy because I'm like, oh my God, you are getting it.
The thing is that I found myself thinking, and and it becomes hard to say this because people have weird um, expectations based off of genre labels and whatnot. And like, eh, but I found myself feeling like this is very much a character arc book. This is very much about the character's growth. And like, as I was reading, I was kind of like, oh, she just moved the goalposts because, like, we have like, you're kind of thinking like, oh, where's the story going and what's going to be about? And then, oops, this has happened. That just changed. And so that kind of, that part of it was interesting because I never really knew what to expect in terms of like, there was no way I could have guessed the ending from the beginning.
Oh,
And I
I love that.
yeah, I love that as a reader, because I write, well,
Yeah.
I'm a published crime fiction author, so I'm very used to trying to guess the ending from the beginning.
Yeah.
And I love it when a book, makes it so that I absolutely can. And this was the case, but I really felt myself really pulled into Lysara's story and her journey and what she was going through emotionally, personally, um, in this book. So, um, so that part spoke to me a lot, and I really appreciated it. So, that,
Yes. Oh God, I'm glad you liked it.
yeah. So, there were also other things though I was curious about because Lysara is she's a bakery owner, and she's also an assassin for hire. But I was wondering why a bakery.
Okay, so this goes into, I'm just going to explain how this book even came about because it's all connected. So my best friend Phil and I, he is who Zalg is based off of. So my best friend Phil and I, we were chatting one day, and I was explaining to him the fantasy book that I was reading, which, funny enough, happened to be the War of Lost Heart series by Carissa Broadbent. And I was just kind of talking to him about it. And then we got into conversation about what our roles would be if we were living in like a medieval fantasy time period. And so I was like, I think I would be a castle cook or like a palace cook. That would be like my job. Um, Mainly because I think I've told you this before, but my like regular social media account is a food blog. Like I'm cooking all the time. So I was like, I just would love to be like a castle cook, like sourdough all day long, roasted meat. Give it to me. I'm happy to make it. And then my friend Phil was like, I would be a vampire lord. Like that would be my role. And he's like, and you would like, I would take that role and you could be my cook. And then we could be best friends and just like gossip about everybody in the castle all day long. And I was like, wait, this is so funny. And then I was like, should I write this into a book? And we just kind of were joking about it. And then I wrote the prologue. But his one condition before I wrote the prologue, he was like, yes, you need to write it into a book. But I have one condition, and that is that my character has to die. So then I wrote the prologue.
Rest in peace, Phil.
So, yeah, that's kind of how she became a cook, was because of that. And then I just thought that like we have a lot of assassin FMCs who are like fighter type with the daggers and the swords and the whatever. And I loved that. But I thought the idea of having one that wasn't so physical was like also just more fun. And then also I felt like it went with like the whole like aether siphoning power, just like her being able to pull like siphon power. Like she could siphon poison. You've read the book, so you get it.
Yeah, well, and I also found it was an interesting contrast because obviously assassins, take lives, but cooks and bakers are very much about providing nourishment,
Yeah, you're
you know.
right.
So I thought it was such an interesting, like, night and day difference in terms of her different roles. So, but out of curiosity, because we actually don't get to see Lasara as a baker or working in the bakery very much at all,
Yeah.
because of the nature of the story. But so I was wondering, what would her signature baked good be?
Chocolate croissants.
Chocolate croissants would be the
Hmm.
ones.
Yeah. I'll spoil this in the second book because it's not really that big of a spoiler, but you learn pretty early on that her chocolate croissants sell out almost every day.
Oh wow. Well, okay. Hey, that's all right. Like chocolate croissants are pretty yummy, so.
Um,
But since we're talking about things that people eat, I don't want to like, how do I give you a hint? So like a little after halfway through the book, there's this one particular scene when things kind of go in an unexpected direction, and it's not all sunshine and roses at this moment. And um, and so, anyways, I was just wondering if there was some possible accidental cannibalism in this story.
Wait,
Now you're
now
trying to think about this.
where is it? Accidental cannibalism? Oh, because
Like
of
scene in an alley and
I mean, I well, okay, because vampires like do kind of eat people, but Lysara, no, I don't know. Maybe there is.
yeah, you know what? I realized after the fact, I thought about it and I thought, I need to go back and I need to reread that. But I was thinking about it because there was there's a book and I can't remember which one it is offhand, but there's a book that has a trigger warning for accidental cannibalism, and people are all like, "How do you have accidental cannibalism?" But I started thinking about that scene, and I thought there could have been
There
accidental
could have been.
cannibalism, cannibalism
Yeah,
scene, and I thought, oh, now I have to go back and reread it. So anyway,
I gotta go
uh,
reread that scene.
see, sometimes as writers we don't even know what we're doing.
Literally. Me forgetting who Arya was.
Yeah, well, you know what? There's so many character names, I mean, in books, and it becomes after a while it becomes a blur sometimes. Like when I'm prepping for a podcast, I have to make a list
Oh yeah.
of and then of course, so then I'm putting down names like Zog and oh well, he doesn't matter anymore. Or kind of doesn't, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, but I mean, you're trying to like at least pinpoint the major players. So, so speaking of major players and minor players, you do have some very interesting tertiary characters in this book who we get to spend varying degrees of time with, some more than others. And I found myself wondering, though, if we would ever get some Judas backstory in the series.
Yes. So I wrote this because I wanted to read a book that was written exactly the way that I wish books were written. And oftentimes I get very bored when we move POV and like the story from like one main character to the side character to back to the main character to the side character. I totally understand that that's like a writing style. A lot of people love it. Um, not discrediting it or anything. I just like personally find myself kind of getting all over the place with that. So that's why this main story did not focus on the side characters really at all. me and my editor both have 3 novellas planned for Judas, a character I don't think you meet in the first one. And who's the third one? Another one. But yes, Judas is gonna get a side novella.
I was going to say, is it Saoirse or Elaine?
First, Cersei, yes. Yes.
Okay, cool. That's cool. I mean, like, look, you know what? The thing is that I think the point of view only matters if they're introducing something that is absolutely relevant to the plot that the main protagonist can't get to, right? So
Ah,
if they're not, then it's fine to not have their point of view. But I think it's a testament to what you do present on the page if you've piqued people's curiosity and they want more.
yeah.
I was curious about Judas, particularly because he starts off as such a jackass. You know,
I love him. He's like one of my favorite characters.
oh, I love him too, and and I think that's part of the thing is like, is he starts off that way, but even he, without a point of view, has a growth arc in the story. So, which
Yeah.
and I think it's also very good because it says a lot about Lasara that she's really actually she's not quick to judge people. She can assess people quickly, but she's
Yeah.
willing to give people second chances.
Yeah.
So,
Very much so.
yeah, and that's an interesting thing. I also, I mean, going back to the trauma thing, I mean, she's not the only character in the book who has trauma and has things that they're dealing with because Kaya certainly does as well. And and so part of her journey, her learning journey in the book is learning to understand more about how their world and the situation that they're living under is affecting the vampires. And there isn't this point of comparison in terms of we have it worse. It's like we all have it bad differently.
Yeah.
So,
That that was on purpose. I think as much as it's like a fun romantasy and we've got the blood and we got the feeding and the fighting or whatever, like another really big overarching theme of this is anti-capitalism. Um, and you know, I I'm a white lady, you know, I, sure I'm bisexual, but I got a boyfriend. Like I'm not trying to voice for like any type of marginalized community. And I'm also not trying to like place myself on the same level as someone who is in a marginalized community. What I am saying is like a theme of this book is that people at the top taking all the resources and taking all everything hurts everybody. Yes, it hurts some people a lot worse than it hurts other people, but unless you're at the top and you are the person siphoning all the magic, you're still bothered by this. And I think like, you know, now I'm getting really political. I'm sorry.
oh, go for it. Go ahead.
It just, the a lot of conversations that I have, a lot of like just like the beliefs I have is that like, you know, everyone at the bottom, all of us have to work together to fight against that. And it doesn't, we all have to kind of put aside the like who has it worse, who doesn't have it worse, whatever. Everyone's trauma is valid. Everything that's happening to everyone is valid. And like it's the problem is the bad guys.
Exactly. I couldn't have said that better myself. So, and don't be afraid to get political because one of the things that I think people are often superficially judgy. Um, and like, 30 years ago I would have been, yeah, because I was young and stupid and anyway, but but I think that it's a lot of romantasy books are actually saying so much more and really speaking to themes and issues that are relevant today because they
Yeah.
are tackling oppressive regimes. That's what their characters are doing. Their characters are fighting for justice and they're fighting for equality. They're fighting for rights. And that's all present in this story. So,
Yeah.
and that's obviously it's more relevant now than ever for us to be considering those things. Like, we're stepping into a world where there are big problems and where
Yeah.
people are seriously mistreated. So,
Yeah.
so how does it? Of course, it's political. Like,
Yeah.
how does somebody read this book and not come away thinking, you know,
Yeah.
that kind of oppression is wrong?
Yeah. Absolutely. I think all books are political. Let's be so for real. No matter whether or not it's like the intent in writing it, your worldview is going to shape what you're writing, and the politics that you're around and the government that you live under is going to shape your worldview. So, like in my opinion, all books are political just because everything is political. Um, but I didn't want this book to be like, oh, this is an anti-capitalist book, and every 5 minutes we're talking about how much we hate capitalism. Like, I still wanted it to be a good, like, about the story. It's more just kind of like a few things thrown in there that you're like, oh, that sounds like somebody that I might recognize and might not like because they are stealing from the lower class.
No, that's what you want it to have. You want it to be part of the fabric of the world, but you don't want it to become the focal point in the sense that it takes over the story. Like,
Yeah.
it's relevant, but yeah, that's how you want it to be. And I think it's a really good perspective as well because obviously it's hard day to day right now to really escape what's happening, in our
Yeah.
real world. And there are very,
Yeah.
very serious issues. And I mean, and you're touching on a lot of things that have parallels to things that are happening right now in
Yeah.
reality, but it's touched on in such a way that you can look at the issue without feeling overwhelmed by what's happening in the present, if that makes sense. And
Yeah.
but then you can come away and sit with that, and it enables, like for me, it enables me to think about the tragedy of this particular act. And then when something that is similar to that happens in real life, then you start thinking about how did they deal with that? Or how did they approach it?
Yeah.
You do. Like I think that I'm always curious to see kind of how characters respond, because I think right now we're all trying to figure out what do we do in the situation that we're in, right? So, and surprisingly enough, I think sometimes you can take more inspiration away from fiction than you might realize, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah, so I don't think you should be afraid to get as political as you want to get. It's fine.
Yeah.
And like, look, like, because you have written a healing journey, and that healing is directly tied into some of the oppression that's happening in this world. So it's all relevant, and it's all part of the fabric. You zoom in and look at it on a very personal level with Lysandra's character or Lysara's character, and but then you also zoom out and show um you show things that happen that are affecting other people in the world around her as
Yeah.
well, which is important for her to
Yeah.
see. you know but then and also, like, when you're saying like that you like romantasy, and getting into reading that, and why it works for you with the intimate scenes, right? It in part because there's so much healing between the characters. Like, there's a very big issue that Lysara has, in terms of trust.
Yes.
That's really central to her relationship with Caius, and with what's going on in terms of like her dealing with how can I trust, because when somebody has been betrayed before and they've been abused and mistreated, how do they learn to trust again?
Yeah.
So why was it important for you to show that she could?
Um, so this book was like a total pants situation where I just kind of started writing, and then like Lysara and Caius and all of them kind of told me their stories. But sort of as I was writing it, I noticed just even in my own writing style, and my editor commented on it, and I was like, I think we should leave it this way. In the beginning, it's her monologue and her voice is a little bit more choppy. She's not really, she'll give insight into her life, but not quite so much. But then by the end, it's like she's word vomiting literally everything that's coming to her mind. You're getting the full internal monologue. And I wanted it, this is like so pretentious of me, but I like wanted it to kind of represent like her journey as well, where like in the beginning she's kind of cold, she's guarded. She's learning to trust, but she's also like learning to trust the reader. She's telling you this story over the course of 5 drinks. And the first drink, she's like, okay, yeah, I'm an assassin. What's up? And then by the fifth drink, you're learning about the ways that Caius is ejaculating all over her stomach.
Spoiler.
Sorry.
I've read the book, so I'm good.
Okay, well, you know what? It's a romantasy. You guys know that Caius and Laetara get together by the end of it.
Yeah, you know what? It's the funny thing about, spoilers is that like, I mean, obviously if it's a romantasy, obviously there's gonna be some boot knocking at some point, right? You should know this. And I've had people like say like, "Oh, I'm reading this book," and I'm like, and like right now I'm crying buckets, and they're like, "Spoiler, you shouldn't say anything." It's like, really? Can't have any emotional reaction whatsoever.
Oh, this happened on Threads the other. I don't know if you saw it, and somebody was like saying that romance has to have a happily ever after is inherently a spoiler. And like, of course, everyone in the comments is like, yeah, that's literally the point. Like, I want to feel good when I'm done reading this book.
Yeah, well, you know what? It's people are crazy with this stuff, like and bringing it up. And I don't know. Some people it's sincere, I suppose, but some people it's just rage bait, right?
Yeah.
Because like, I mean, that's part of the whole thing is that when I read a romantasy or a romance novel, I do want a happy ever after, or at least a happy for now, right?
Yeah.
Like, why do you want to go through all of
All of
that
that.
and then have it be like it's a rotten ending where things don't work out?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I couldn't be me. I want the happy ending. I
Yeah.
give the happy ending and everything.
Well, and I mean, it's also the same thing though. Like, I mean, if they're saying that, then they would be saying that it would be a spoiler that there's a resolution at the end of a crime novel. I mean, if you're reading a police procedural, I sure hope that they solve the case.
Wishful thinking that police will solve the case. But
It, it, it might be in real life, but I think in fiction, I think it should be
yeah, no, yeah.
expected, right? Because like that's the whole.
That's
That's
why I'm reading the book. It's because I want the police to solve the case.
I mean, it's because we actually want to believe that there is some justice in the world,
Yeah. Of
right?
course. Sorry, I'm getting my water.
No, that's okay. I have the same situation over here. But yeah, I mean, I think it's crazy that people, you know, get into that. But, you know, I mean, I think it's important. It, yeah, I think it's important in their relationship. I liked the evolution of the relationship and that progression. I'm not sure if you have put it on your trope list, but like obviously I would call it a slow burn. So
Okay.
be patient.
Yeah.
Be patient and it's worth it, right?
Yeah.
You know?
I don't I can't I don't really know what I think a slow burn is anymore because I read some books where I'm like, this is a slow burn and they're kissing. I don't know. But
I
I
think
think to me, it's when the physical and the emotional connect later on in the book. Because you can have books where they're getting hot and heavy on page one, but it's still a slow burn because they don't really like each other yet.
yeah, I think that I think there's different ways to look at it. I looked at this one as a slow burn because although there is some, degree of interest and curiosity about each other and we certainly have her impression of how Caius sees her based off of what he says. Um, she's still weeding through, can I trust him? Or is
Yeah.
who gonna drop? Like it and
Yeah.
is this really what I see is what I get? kind of thing. And it takes a long time for her to go through all of that, and that's part of her
Yeah.
journey. And at the same time, he also isn't pushy, and he
Yeah.
also doesn't. There's also certain things that he doesn't want to be factors if they finally are together. He
Yeah.
wants it to be very, he wants it to be a genuine. Um,
Yeah. Connection.
so I think because of those things, I think there's a lot of patience on both their parts, really.
Yeah.
Um, maybe not 100% of the time, but in general overall.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
that's
I
how
do
I look
think
at it.
I also tried to like I wanted the I mean, obviously the main focus is the romance, but like personally, and this might be a self-insert moment, but it's like I can't think about sleeping with you when we have things to do. So that was kind of like part of it too, where like yeah, they both are like horny early on. That's obvious. It's like I wrote that in there on purpose, but at the same time, it's like they had a lot they had to get done.
Yeah,
And they
they
had to at least they had to get to a certain point before they could even focus on.
Yeah, because you say that, but there is quite a lot going on with the plot in this book, and it's funny because my impression while reading it, I was like, I was really feeling like this reads like a romp, like it's just like dun, 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 dun. Like I mean, it's steady paced and it's moving and things are happening and progressing and it made me feel, and I could be wrong, but it made me feel like you had a lot of fun writing this book.
So much fun.
Yeah,
So much.
well, yeah, that came through to me. I just felt like you had fun with this. You had fun with what you were doing and focused in on all that and enjoyed it. So,
Yeah. I think I did go into this with the goal of like I wanted to keep it under 350 pages. I wanted a complete story from start to finish. I knew it was going to be the start of a series, so yes, there are unanswered questions,
sure.
but the main plot of book 1 is done. And I wanted it to be palatable for anyone, even if you're not into reading fantasy. Like if you've never read a fantasy book before, I want you to be able to get into this. And I think like my favorite book, I like love like middle grade adventure fantasy, like Percy Jackson, as you know, is my favorite series on the planet. And I like it because you're kind of just dropped right into the middle of the story. So I tried to do that with this. You're dropped into the story. The world building happens as the story progresses, but it's not so complex that you're confused. And then by the end of it, you feel at least a little bit of closure with what the events happen within this book. And also it won't take you 5 years to finish. It's 333 pages.
It really won't take you. No, it's like it's a very it to me it was a very fast-paced read. So, which is a great thing, because like I like it when a book just, hooks me in and I'm in that world, right?
Yeah.
So, it was a
Mission
lot
accomplished.
of fun. Yeah, mission accomplished. So, yeah, you know what? You set yourself good goals and you met them. Like that's awesome, right? That's that's a really great thing with your first book. Like it's, you know, because
Yeah.
sometimes it's like it can be easy to let expectations like run away and then it becomes a setup for disappointment. But like when you're focusing on things like that in the writing, like I wanted to create this, you know,
Yeah.
that's I mean, that's great because I think that I think you did a great job really focusing on those things and achieving them. So,
Thank you so much. That means so much coming from you. Yeah.
well, I don't know, but okay. But on that note, let me shift gears here. I have a couple final questions for you before we wrap this up. So, and this is inspired by a scene in the book. This
Okay.
question: do you dog ear your pages?
I do.
You do?
I
What?
do. I do. This is the proof copy. It's got a billion in them.
So is that something you gave Caius from yourself?
Yes. Yeah. I feel like it was like one of those things that I see jokes about it all the time with like people that are like, I do or I don't dog ear the books or whatever. So I was like, that would just be funny to put in there.
Yeah, I did find it. So, what's the weirdest thing that you have ever used as a bookmark?
Hmm. That's a good question. I'm looking around my house right now to see. Oh, the back, you know how like when you get Sharpies and they come in the container and you like rip the plastic part off, the cardboard part that you rip the plastic off of, that is sticking out of one of my Throne of Glass books right now.
Yeah, well, you know what? If it works, right? I've used a lot of different things. Some bills,
Oh yes, I've used bills before.
you know.
Um, yeah, I think that's probably the weirdest. I fold the pages more than I use a bookmark, honestly.
Yeah, I've tried to move away from that, but I have definitely done it in the past. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh yeah.
I admit to it. So, and this is also, another question that is inspired by something in the book. If you could magically alter one part of your body to change its appearance, what part of your body would it be and why?
This is a good question. Okay, I would choose to alter my hair into whatever style I wanted it to be that day. Does that make sense? Is that an acceptable answer?
I Well, you know what? I have naturally curly hair, and
Yeah.
the reason I don't have bangs is because I can't do them. I can't
Yeah,
do
and it's
them.
annoying to deal with this. Like I'm tired of it. So if I could alter my body, I would just do my hair every day the way that I wanted it to be.
It's yeah. No, I actually quite relate to that. So I was
I love
always
my
like,
curly hair. It's fine. I love your curly hair, but you know as well as I do, it's a pain in the ass.
and it's always, isn't it always the way? Because like my mom and my sister have straight hair, right?
Yeah.
And, and they're like, "Oh, you're so lucky you've got curly hair." Really? Because I don't know how to do my hair, and it doesn't cooperate.
There's also just the everyday let's get it wet, let's throw the product in and hope for the best.
You know what? I just finally got to the point where I just would say to, when I was getting my hair cut, like, I don't want to have to deal with it.
Yeah, make
Don't
it
give me
easy.
anything that's going to require a lot of attention. I just need to comb my hair and move on with my day.
Call it a day.
So yeah, I get it.
I'm dead.
Uh,
Another question.
oh, well, and it is inspired by something in the book. So it was a fair question, right? Because I don't usually ask people questions like that. So out of curiosity, because I haven't gone snooping, and you have a website that's up now, as we were talking about before we started recording. But so are you going to be designing any merch, selling any merch? Do you have any plans for that?
Merch, yes. I this was on my to-do list for today that probably is not going to get done because I really want to read the Alien Cowboy book. So
Fair.
the is gonna have to wait. But no, so I'm putting up prints of I don't know if you saw my Instagram, I made like tarot cards of all the main characters. Um and so I'm doing like prints of those. I'm gonna do like a little sticker page and then just some of the character art that I've gotten done. Um I don't know. I want to see like what the reaction is before I go further into it. Like who people like, what people identify with, because then that will tell me like what, you know, where to go from there, I guess.
What to focus on?
Yeah. Like I had no idea how much of like fan favorite that Judas would be. This is just from the ARC team. But like I kind of wrote him. I didn't really think about him too much. And then I sent out all the arcs and everyone was like, I love Judas. And I was like, oh, well, I guess I need to draw Judas now.
Yeah, well, that's what happens, right? When you have these great, you know, secondary characters, right? I mean,
Yeah.
he really is, I would say, a secondary character. Like, Circe's more of a like tertiary in this one. She's not around very much, but I'm intrigued. No,
Yeah.
I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued if we ever get to find out more about what was on her ear, you know,
Yeah. In the
and
second book.
backstory and okay, and things like
Yeah,
that. So, but then I'm also patient. Like I can wait for the next book too.
I got you.
So, so on that note, tease us up for what to expect in book two.
Okay. Lots and lots of dialogue, which is my least favorite thing to write. But this whole book hinges on all of these characters working together. So you get so much backstory, so much time with each of the characters. You get a lot of Perseus. Um, Judas and Lysara go behind everybody's back to do something really fun. Um, what else? And so the plot kind of takes like a turn. The second book actually doesn't focus on like killing the cardinals as much as it does focus on cleaning up the mess that Caius and Lysara have put themselves in. The third book is when it all comes together and we like really get to the actual solution for what's going on, kind of like in the world. But again, I did that on purpose because I feel like oftentimes when you're like, just in regular life, you're like, okay, I'm gonna solve this problem. You make the plan, you do the plan, everything gets derailed, you don't solve the problem, and now you have 14 other problems that you have to solve. That is the theme of the second book. The first book, we thought we solved the problem. Second book, we really didn't. let's let's figure this out.
Awesome. Well, that sounds fantastic. I'm looking forward to book two. And you already have sign up open for ARCs. So if
Yeah.
people join your ARC team, they can find the sign up via your link tree.
Yes. The pre-order, by the time this episode is out as well, the pre-order for the ebook will be available on Amazon too.
Wow, that's awesome. Well,
Yeah.
congratulations on your debut novel, The Phantom Noctis. So
Thank
exciting.
you. Oh my God, I'm so excited.
Thanks for thanks for taking the time to chat with me about it today.
Thank you. I was so hyped when you asked me to be on this. I was like, am I like a real author? She's put me on the author podcast.
You are a real author. Don't let anybody ever tell you different. Um, Thanks again so much for being here.
Oh, of course, of course. Thank you for having me, and thank you to anyone who listens. I hope you like my books.